Welcome to 2 Minutes of Gaming, where we talk about the top video game topics of the month for 2 minutes at a time. I'm your host, Keenan, and today I'm joined by
Justin. How you doing, folks?
Today's a special show. Not only is it's 2 years of doing this show, but we also have Cry Hero 2 issue 2, is available as well. So a lot of twos this episode.
Yes.
So
you can get that on Amazon Kindle right now, and you can also get it on Barnes & Noble's Nook. And I'm currently waiting for approval from Comixology for both books. Fingers crossed for that one. But I might actually have a surprise, hopefully by the next showing, if quality is up to my standards. We might have print versions getting ready to come to Amazon. So those who've been asking for print, you might get it. Just hope the quality with this company I found is good. And if it is, we'll go straight to print through Amazon. So you'll be able to buy it there. So stay tuned for that.
And just like last episode, the link will be in the bio. And whatever you're watching it on, if it's Facebook, it'll still be at the bottom. YouTube, it'll be at the bottom. So just look down, and it will be a link to buy it there. So thank you guys for your support. But
thank you.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about, Justin. We got so much to talk about that it didn't even make the show. There's so much video game news. But we're gonna start at the top with, like I said, we got new games, we got old games. Games we talked about 2 years ago, games we never heard about, but we're going to start at the top with Nintendo. Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct, I think it was a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And they showed a slew of games. 2 minutes on the clock, Justin. What's your thoughts on these games, and what were some games that really excited you?
Well, first I have to say I'm really excited. Let me get the big one out the way, Skyward Sword HD, since I never got a chance to play Skyward Sword, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Definitely, I'm actually excited for the DC Superhero Girls. That looks actually pretty good. Looks like a fun game to play. Everybody, look. I'm a DC guy. That looks pretty fun to play. I'm actually going to buy that game. There was this visual novel game that they showed that I thought was really spectacular. Sorry I forgot the title, but it looks really, really good. That's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most, believe it or not, besides Skyward Sword. And of course, Keenan, you're probably going to mention it as well. Ninja Gaiden Collection is coming to the Switch. It's coming also to the PS4. So I am definitely going to get it for the Switch because, as you can see, I have one right here. It's my primary. Very looking forward to it. And Ken, take it away.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna just piggyback right what you said. For me, the most exciting game, well, maybe tied for the most, was Ninja Gaiden. It's funny because I actually was going to go get my Xbox 360 and go hook it up to play Ninja Gaiden 2. That's how much I love and miss that game. Yeah. Part 1, I beat 1 and 2. 3, I don't think Itagaki worked on 3, so I didn't play that one. I think they had a demo I played, but I'm actually gonna just play that one as well, beat that game. I'm super excited for that. But also Skyward Sword. That was a game, one of the few Zelda games that I actually haven't even played. I beat pretty much almost all of the recent Zelda games in the last 15 years. So I'm super excited for this. But one thing that kind of hindered my excitement was the fact that they said you're going to use the right analog stick to swing the sword. Now, I understand how that game was designed, but that's kind of awkward. I like my right stick to move the character around. And like we talked about, move the camera around. And like we talked about, Justin, when you play such a magnificent game as Breath of the Wild, coming down to Skyward Sword may feel like a drop. But, hey, it's Zelda. Take my money.
Yeah. And, folks, the game is called Famicom Detective Club. There we go. Next topic.
Okay. And also, too, before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mario Golf because Nintendo is such geniuses that they made a boring game. No offense if you love golf, a boring game like golf exciting. For those who don't know, they turned golf into a race. So let's say Justin and I are playing against each other. Not only do we have to hit the ball, but we hit it at the same time, and then we have to race to the ball over obstacles and all that stuff to get the next hit. You know what I'm saying? So it takes the normal golf mechanics and also adds in fun, crazy racing stuff, mixes it in for Nintendo Golf. And they also have a RPG type stuff, which I kind of was upset because they were copying off of Golf Star a little bit. But I know they said they had that before, but Anyway, props to Marigold. All right, Sony time. Sony State of Play was actually right before we recorded the show.
Yeah.
Wanted to wait a little bit to watch it. Justin, we talked a little bit about it off air. I definitely want to start with you because they showed at the end one of your favorite games of all time. Your favorite game of all time, a version of it. So, Justin, what were your thoughts on Sony State of Play? Did it get you excited to buy a PS5? 2 minutes on clock.
I'm still waiting for a game to make me go, I'm still waiting for a slew of exclusives to come. I was hoping that this would have been the showcase where they show a lot of PS5 games. But if you notice, everyone who watched the State of Play, on the bottom, it also said PS4 as well. So a lot of these games are still coming out for the last gen console. So why am I getting a PS5 just for a little bit better frame rate and graphical upgrade? It doesn't make sense. Nothing really sold me yet to get a PS5. And this is what I'm talking about. Where is the real exclusives besides Returnal and now just this little exclusive bit of Final Fantasy Remake Integrate, which you get an episode with Yuffie, which takes place on what happens between when Cloud left the group because he fell down the reactor core or something like that. So nothing really sold, nothing really stood out. I was very disappointed, and I was hoping to see a little bit more heavy hitters. This is something you could have just dropped trailers for and called it a day. You could have just sent this to the press and be like, here's some new trailers. That's it. You didn't really need the State of Play.
Yeah, I totally agree. I came in with really low expectations, but I did feel like this was an opportunity to get people hyped for PS5 more. But honestly, the PS5s are sold out regardless, you know what I mean, in America. So, doesn't really matter what they would have showed. People are still going to go crazy. But I will say, I have the games listed here. Returnal, like I said, that game looked pretty cool. That was one game that I would probably buy early if I had a PS5. Because, again, there's not really many exclusives except for that. They said the game changes completely once you die, which is really cool. The enemies change, the board state, the map changes. And then lastly, like I said, that Final Fantasy DLC, it was exciting, but I wonder how long is it really? I don't think it's going to be that long. So, while I was excited, I think Returnal for me was the winner of this State of Play. So, all right. Out of nowhere, maybe about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, my dreams kind of were magically answered. For those who watched the show for the 2 years, thank you. I really appreciate that. But I've been screaming about an open world zombie game. So Justin, I know you love zombie games. We finally got it, but it's open world online. The game is called The Day Before. No one knew about it. Nothing leaked. This game just came out of nowhere with a gameplay trailer. So Justin, what's your thoughts on The Day Before?
I mean, this would be good to give me another State of Decay fix because, I think State of Decay was one of the first to really give us that open world zombie experience that me and you have been dying for when it comes to like gathering things, crafting, and really having a group that you had to manage. I thought State of Decay was one of the few that really nailed that aspect. This one looks really good. My only concern is that it is online as well for the multiplayer. So my thing is that is this going to be a game for service where you give us the first month it's like buggy as hell, and then you're just like, it's a game for service. We'll patch it. So I would like to see a more single campaign. I'm not sure if it's going to be single campaign oriented, but I would love to see just a single campaign oriented open world zombie. But the concept, the game looks beautiful. It looks great. I am looking forward to it. But this for me is just a more wait and see what they're going to announce.
Yeah, honestly, Justin, the online stuff sucked the air out of it for me. The concept is amazing. If you actually watch the trailer fully, like I said, not only are you running around in this amazing, the town, which is just beat down, but also, too, you're able to pretty much go in any building and just go up and down. Now, it's a lot different than Last of Us. The Last of Us was kind of open, but it led you down a linear path. You know what I mean? It kind of funneled you through certain areas. This is wide open, which is what I love. The only thing I don't like I said, is like you mentioned earlier, the online focus. But I still think State of Decay is the winner when it comes to these type of games. But it was really refreshing to see The Day Before. I think that this could be a great game, but again, there's a lot of ifs and things that we just don't know yet. But I'm excited because worst case scenario, it's going to light a fire in the Capcom's ass to actually make something like this for the next Resident Evil. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, we both are playing the same game. Very rare, actually, that happens a lot. But we're both playing Persona 5 Strikers. We talked about this game for those who are original to the show. I think it was last year, Justin, or maybe even the year before. Remember, we got the Japanese demo.
Yeah, it was a couple of months ago that I played the demo.
No. We played the Japanese demo last year, though.
Yeah.
And I think it was even before that because we played the demo came out before the game. But anyway,
yeah.
So for those who listen to that episode of the show, we're probably going to repeat ourselves a little bit here because it is the first part of the game is the demo. But in English this time. But finally, we really got to get down and dirty with this. So Justin, Persona 5S, should people buy this game, wait for a sale, or just ignore it?
Well, first, folks, I'll show you right now, right on my Switch. You can see it, well, barely see it, but because it's so bright with the light. But yeah, definitely, I have it on my Switch. This is a must-get if you're a Persona fan, if you're a JRPG fan, and if you're a fan of this franchise. The way they are continuing this story, I mean, the feels, the emotion, just being back into this world, it just hits you when you get to see Joker, Lady Ann, especially Morgana. I know a lot of Morgana fans. Everybody loves the cat. And the gameplay plays a little bit like Dynasty Warriors, but with a Persona feel. And it doesn't, for me, feel repetitive at all. Mm-hmm. And it's even challenging at the normal difficulty. I must have died at least twice, but when I accidentally went into Keenan, you know, when you see a red, you don't go there. Like an enemy has a red aura, you know they're super strong. It's got killed instantly. So far, I am really happy with the gameplay. The production and music is amazing. It's like a 60-plus hour game. I'm only like 3 hours in, but I can already tell this is already, for me, a Game of the Year contender.
Listen, this game is a must-own. I gotta say it. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say, Justin, is if you haven't played Persona 5, I personally, while you can play this, but I would strongly recommend you go play Persona 5 first, and then play this, because Persona 5 is one of the best, one of my top 5 favorite RPGs of all time. That's how much I love Persona 5. So while this is a must-buy, I wouldn't jump into this. Now, if you say, Keenan, I hate turn-based RPGs. I hate them. Okay, cool. Then jump into this. Jump right into this. Again, you won't appreciate the little things. You know, I mean, Justin, the first hour of me playing this, when I really was getting down and dirty into the story, dude, I was just smiling the whole time. It felt so good to have a true sequel. And if you haven't played the previous game, you won't really feel that or understand that. So.
Or just an alternative, folks. If you don't want to spend 100+ hours like we did, just watch the anime.
That's another story. Rest in peace, Stadia. Google Stadia. We talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a couple times actually before. Yeah. But we stopped talking about it. But wanted to give everyone an update that the Stadia is pretty much dead. Google has pulled all first-party support from the platform. Just even read a report that they won't even let them update the games because they're done. They're fired. They hired a lot of big names who are now looking for a job during COVID, which is not a good time to look for a job because there's a lot of people out of work. So, Justin, what went wrong here, and who is to blame?
First, I just want to say to the people looking for work, hope they find something. And secondly, I just got to say that, you know, what happened is that the technology is not there yet. I really don't think the technology is there yet to do a successful cloud gaming. And there's not really a market for it as well at this time. Like, yeah, maybe in the future, people are going to want to rent, like, or do like a Netflix of gaming. But first, you need stability first. And not to mention some of the titles that was on Stadia wasn't like grabbing for it as well. And right now, it's very hard to defeat or be in the same space as the big three, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft at this point. Amazon tried to do it with Amazon Studios, and they failed. Google just failed with Stadia, and whose fault was it? I'm not really too sure whose fault it is, but I would have to say it's the I will say it's everybody's fault because they did not really. I really think they didn't look into the technology and study the market, and they put people in place who had no business, who had no idea of the business of the video game industry.
But that's where I'm gonna jump in, Justin, and I agree with you, like why it fell. But I'm gonna say this: I blame all of those big wigs, all of those famous people that they hired in the video game industry. They are at fault. Google is a company that does a lot of things. I mean, you know, when I watch TV, when I leave here and I watch my cable, it's through YouTube TV. You know, this show is gonna be on YouTube. We know we're gonna Google everything. Like Google does a lot of stuff. They are not experts in video games. So what they did was they hired experts in video games. And a lot of these people, Justin, are full of it. Okay. A lot of these people were in the room when great games were made. So they took the credit for it and said, hey, I was part of that team. I did that. When they know the damn sure they didn't do a goddamn thing. So that being said, while I feel sorry that they're out of work, at the same time, it is their own fault. Because they are the ones that Google hired. They should have came in and said, listen. I've been doing video games for 20 years, blah, blah. This is what we need to do. We need to have strong exclusives. You know, we need to make sure our technology doesn't run ahead of where our current gamers, or our current customers are at. This is a mistake that Sega made in 1996 when they came out with something called a NetLink, which was internet service for online gaming in 1996. Sega saw gaming now in 1996, but it was too much too soon for the people. So that being said, I blame all these people, and Justin, it really bothers me because these people were paid six figures. They took all this money from Google, and they led Google astray. They led them the wrong way, down the wrong path. So I would say more, but I'm going to run into these people at GDC, and I don't want no smoke yet. So we're going to go to the next topic. All right. For those who are new to the show, last round is the freestyle round, and we just kind of open the floor up and just talk whatever's on our mind, and maybe kind of go over some topics that we didn't go over. So Justin, what you got?
When are we going to get some 3DS games on my damn Switch? Like, I mean... I know I sound like a broken record, but I mean, I think it's really time, man. Like, there's so much library here. Like, backwards capability should be a given at this point for all systems. I'm not saying that, oh, make them free. I'm willing to rebuy some of these games because even for GameCube and PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 games, I'm willing to buy them again and play them on my system. You go to Amazon, man, these people are charging like $100 for some of these games now. Like, it's absolutely crazy that backwards capability. None of these companies have thought, hey, let's just put our library, let's just do a deal with the licensing with these other publishers that, you know, published on our game. Let's cut a deal that way we can re-release some of these games because this is what the fans will want. So I still don't understand how these games are not there. I'm happy for Skyward Sword, but come on, give me, like, there's so much games on the Wii U people have not played because no one had the Wii U. No one really played the Wii U. Just re-release these games, like, for us to buy.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you know, it was funny, Justin. I was thinking about the Zelda. I was going to make a topic about this, but whatever. And I was thinking about Zelda games that are mobile that no one talks about. And I don't know if you remember, Justin, Minish Cap.
Yeah.
That was a classic game that should be re-released on the Switch. Why not? It's a great game. It looks great to this day. And then Link to the Past 2, which was another great game that Switch owners probably don't even have access to, 3DS game. So there's a whole rabbit hole of Zelda games that they could re-release for the 35th anniversary.
Exactly. Like, where are they? Like, come on.
But speaking of anniversaries, I'm going to take just a minute to talk about Street Fighter 2. So Street Fighter 2 turned 30 this month, which is crazy. And I just wanted to take a moment to look back because this is one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. Because I remember when I was a kid, around like 7, 8, there was a store, I think you probably remember it, in Far Rock called Sweet Treats.
Yeah.
Yeah, right by IS 53, right by kind of like, you know, that gateway area.
Yep.
And for those who are not from Far Rock, it is basically like a candy store. And
It's near the police office, the police station, folks.
Yeah, and inside the candy store, at least in the '90s, they would always have like one arcade game, and eventually they got like 2 or 3 when it really became popular. But I remember going in there, Justin, about some candy as like a 7, 8-year-old, right? Wasn't even thinking about much, and I was like, let me just buy some snacks. And I just saw this game, and I saw these guys crowded around this arcade machine, and they were just going crazy, like, oh, come on. And I'm like, what? As a kid, I'm like, what the hell is this? And mind you, people, this is 1991, 1992 in America, when we got it finally, early 90s. And so there wasn't really many fighting games. And so I'm looking up, 1991, and I'm like, what is this game? And I just saw the coolest looking fighting game, Justin. I was like, this looks amazing. Like, guys are throwing fireballs from their hands and doing backs. Like, it was just so many amazing things. And I remember the guys, I stood there and watched these guys battle for so long. And when they were finished, Justin, everyone left. And I literally stood there for probably 30 minutes straight, Justin, watching the press start screen, watching the guy punch the other guy. You remember that? And right after he punches the other guy, the game would loop like random stages and random characters. And so I didn't know any of the characters. So this was the first time, Justin, I actually got a chance to see Bison, Gayu, and all these different characters. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So when I was a little kid, we were really, really poor. So my grandma used to give me $5 every 2 weeks, Justin. That's really poor. $5 every 2 weeks. And I had to make this $5 last. So luckily, back in the days, you could buy like a candy for like 20 cents.
Yeah.
A candy bar was like 50 cents. So you had to make this. I would make this $5 last, Justin. Trust me, I was pretty good at this. So one day, like a week later, I finally got my allowance, and my grandma gave me $5. And dude, I didn't even mean to. I went to the store, to that same store, and I got $5 in quarters, my whole 2-week allowance. And I spent, again, it was a quarter to play. I spent all Saturday, the whole Saturday, pretty much in there playing the arcade, playing against people, getting kicked off, waiting, coming back, playing it. And dude, before I knew it, that was like my first time ever being addicted to something. When I got home, I was like, where were you? I was like, I was in an arcade. So I hope you spent all your money. I'm like, yeah, I did. And I didn't regret it, Justin. That was the most physically irresponsible thing to do. Spend all your money for 2 weeks and one day on a video game. That's like spending your whole check on something, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta wait.
Did you at least win?
Oh no, I want to lie. It was my first time really playing it. I won some, I lost some. Back then, Justin, nobody knew how to play Street Fighter, so everyone was just terrible. But you would learn. You had to play in the arcade to learn. But Justin, I did not regret it at all throughout those whole 2 weeks. The only thing on my mind in those 2 weeks while I was broke as a joke, had no money for juices or nothing like that, the only thing in my mind was I can't wait to get more allowance so I can play more and learn more moves and get better. So happy birthday, Street Fighter 2, 30 years old, one of my favorite games ever. I'm done. Before we go, Justin, do you have any last words?
No, not really. Well, besides obviously visit imaginativevisions.com. You can follow me on Instagram, imaginative_visions. You can follow us on Facebook, imaginativevisions.com. And we're working on a new project called My Name is Rachel, which should be out later this year, which is a new edition. Wasn't planning, it just happened. So yeah, so I'm going to be dropping twice. Obviously, Cry Hero is out right now. Cry Hero 2, Consequences, and we also have the Spanish translations on the way, coming out in August, and most likely the motion comic will be out there in November. So a lot of stuff we're working on Imaginative Vision. So keep it locked and stay tuned. And visit otakusandgeeks.com for upcoming reviews that I'm going to be doing for Persona 5 and other games as well.
Nice. Check it out. All right, people, thank you for listening. We really appreciate you guys. And also, before we go, like, comment, subscribe, because I love to read the comments. As you can see, I'm always in there. And then liking and subscribing, again, just helps the YouTube machine. I should have said this earlier in the video, but we don't be fiending for likes. So,
yeah.
All right, y'all.
Later days, folks.
Peace.